there, my name's Gill Tiney. I'm from Collaboration Global, and this is our podcast, Being Human, Hidden Depths. I'm going to be interviewing some of our members from Collaboration Global, and they're going to be sharing with you their extraordinary lives. Although they would probably believe they're just normal, everyday, average humans, but they are extraordinary. A bit like you and me. We all have our story to tell. We've all been through difficult times, and we've come out the other end having learned an extraordinary amount about ourselves that we can share with others. So I think you'll find lots of things that will resonate with where you've been in your journey as well. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Hello and welcome to another episode of Being Human, Hidden Depths with myself, Gill Tiney from Collaboration Global, and our wonderful guest, a new member at Collaboration Global, Mr. Jonathan Rosen. Welcome, Jonathan. Lovely to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I've been looking forward to having this conversation. Actually, I like to talk to you anytime, any day. So it doesn't have to be a podcast, but anything. But this is wonderful. Thank you.
It is a joy, isn't it, to when you get that precious time to just get into a deeper conversation. Life now is so soundbitey, isn't it? It's 30 seconds here, it's a minute there. If you're going to do your pitch to anybody, it has to be 60 seconds, and you've got to get to your point. And it's quite exhausting, isn't it, Jonathan? And for you and me, when we have an opportunity to talk, like say, we're booked to have another conversation very soon. And you said, well, it's supposed to be a 15-minute chat, but you and me will probably be half an hour. And it's just the joy of being together in that space in order to enjoy another human being's way their brain works, more importantly, where their heart is. So yeah, I'm looking forward to just kind of hanging out with you as though we were not thousands of miles apart, but just, down the pub and having a nice.
I agree. And certain people I find, and this is something that I don't know. I always believe in following your heart and following your intuition. And when you meet and trusting yourself, and when you meet someone that you align with, you know it. It's like you just, 10 seconds go by and you go, oh, this is going to be fun. And that's one of the reasons I was looking forward to continuing this conversation that we've been having since we've met each other. So.
Which isn't that long, to be honest, is it? And yet I know exactly what you mean. Within a few seconds, you can tell the difference. I read a book quite a long time ago called The Click. I think I might have mentioned it at one of our meetings. And it's about how these two scientists, brothers, wanted to understand why people click in that kind of really short space and become lifelong friends. And they worked out that there was a way of orchestrating it, although there was an awful lot that was just kind of left to natural chemistry. And I think that's one of the things that I'm on the space of everyone I meet, 99.9% of the time, I'm like, I like you instantly. And then it takes a few more minutes to go, oh, I'm not so sure. But I think so far, you and me are like, well, we've said this many, many times, we are the same person. Just living on different sides of the pond. We have very similar values. We have very similar, not identical, but really conjoined values. We have very similar missions. We have very similar purpose in this world. So let's explore some of that.
So I don't want to get off track. I know you probably have things that you want to ask me, but we've done an exercise in our groups once that it wasn't scientists, it was social psychologists. They came up with a study, and the study was called 36 Questions That Lead to Love.
Oh.
And they determined if you ask these 36 questions in a row consecutively at your first date, that that being uncomfortable and intimacy, it will create greater intimacy between people. I tested it out with my group. They were like, no way. Like half the questions they would say if they were out on a first date with someone, they would say, excuse me, can I have the check, please? I'm out of here, because and they got more and more intimate as they went along. So,
tricky. It is
but
tricky.
that's something that interests me, is the basis of I guess what drew me to Collaboration Global,
Mm.
because it's also the basis of what we do at Collaberex, which is relationship building.
Exactly. So do you believe in serendipity, where you meet someone by chance and it just feels right, and within seconds you feel like you're best friends? Do you kind of, I know we've kind of experienced that to a certain degree, but is that kind of, do you think that, oh, that was a lucky coincidence, or?
Okay, so you're talking to someone who has been married for 39 years and met his wife on a blind date.
Oh,
So, and
oh, how
we
lovely.
knew we both say this, we knew instantly. Not, I
Yeah.
mean, not maybe at dinner that night, but within the next few weeks,
Mm.
we got each other. We would go to a museum together, and I'd stand in the room and I go, Julie, I bet that's your favorite painting in this room. And she'd go, you're right. She
Oh.
goes, and I bet that's yours. Or we'd go out to dinner. I go, yeah, I know what you're going to order. It was weird, but
As
it
a
was that. It was that connection.
as a couple, that is so annoying when you're that in tune with each other. But I concur. My husband, I would say, in the first 10 seconds of the first conversation, I'd known of him, I was aware of him, I'd been warned not to go anywhere near him because he was trouble. He wasn't trouble, he was just cheeky. And then within that first 10 seconds, we were I was in a phone box desperately trying to get my sister come and pick me up, and he was there and he just yelled my name, and I opened the door of the phone box, which gives you a rough idea of how long ago it was.
Right.
And we time stood still, and it was like there was this guy looking at me and I was looking at him, and then he just ran and he picked me up and he swung me around and literally swept off my feet. But logic kicked in a bit later, because I was like, oh, I'm too young for this. I can't be committed to somebody at this age. This is ridiculous. So we split up for about 4 days. I couldn't stand it any longer. And then I rang him up and said, can we go back out again? And he was like, oh, all right then. So
Right.
45 years later, is it 45, 46 years later? Yeah. So it kind of worked, I guess.
So I do believe in I you know what I believe in? I believe in trusting yourself,
Mm,
and trusting, like your heart, and trusting your soul,
yeah.
and believing in yourself, that if you do that, and you feel, you feel worthy, and you feel that you trust yourself, then you could allow that intuition to flourish.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
if you think of one's life, and you think about the decisions that you made that were based on that, I guarantee people will say, oh, those are the best things that I decided to do. And it could be positive or negative. Like, I am so glad that I turned down that job, or that boss was toxic. I'm so glad that I left that thing.
Mm,
Or this, I have faith in this. And even though, it could be a career thing, even though they're paying me less, I know it's going to give me such fulfillment and lead to the things that I want it to lead to. So it's a lot of self-trust.
yeah.
So,
We talk about a lot about intuition in Collaboration Global. It's that kind of being still and connecting into it. You've come to some of our meetings and you've met Alessandro, who does the meditation. And I always feel lovely when your life is go, oh, I've got to send that email, and I forgot to send that invoice, and I've got to do this, and I've got to feed the dog, and blah, blah, whatever. But the moment you can be still and center yourself and be present in the moment, that's when your intuition is allowed to let you know in various ways, however that is for you, that you've got to listen occasionally.
but I was feels well, from the moment I met you, and the moment you introduced me to Collaboration Global, I felt so aligned with kind of the culture of your community, of it being one of help and support, and authentically getting to know each other, as people, versus getting to know each other as what, your features and benefits are.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully that's what sets us all apart, because you are running an almost identical but not alike at all organization over on the East Coast in the US. Before we get to that, I would like to get into the bones of that in a little while. What was your day job before you did Collaborex? And when did you first discover your intuition, and how did it lead you to where you are today?
Okay, so I'll try and keep this short, because I was always the kid I mean, or actually, that whose parents said, do well in school, go
Hmm.
to a good school, get good grades, get a good job, be something that's important. And
Hmm.
so that's what I strive to be. And it kind of was this programming that we all have. Like, if you do these things, you earn your worthiness. You're a good boy. You're
Yeah.
good. And if you
Yeah.
don't, then you're not.
Yeah.
So what I did before was so foreign to what I'm doing now. So I went to a good business school. I went and got my master's in business. I went to law school.
Wow.
I practiced law for a couple of years. I went into business, and I was always following that path, trying to, be a good student, be a good lawyer, be a good business person, and doing those things. But it wasn't the things that gave me joy. And I've done a lot of things over the years. I've had a lot of my own businesses, run other people's businesses. But what I came back to when I started Collaborex about 7.5 years ago,
Hmm.
is when I was younger, when I was, say, 10 years old.
Mm.
I was always the kid that we would have in the US. You have recess is one of the part of school. And when you're in that age, you go out on the playground, you play.
Yeah.
And I was the kid that would be the organizer. I would say, come on, everyone, stop messing around. We only have 45 minutes and then we have to go learn math. So let's all play. In the US, the thing that you played on the playground was kickball.
Right.
And so I would say, come on, everyone, let's choose teams, let's this. And I didn't want to be the captain. I didn't care about I cared about including everyone and
Yeah.
speeding up the process so we get maximum amount of play in.
Yeah.
And
I'm smiling here, Jonathan, because I've told a very similar story about my childhood. You got to come and play. You should go to play with her, and he can go and play with him. And oh
right.
dear,
And I
yeah,
didn't want
deja
anyone to
vu.
be left out, and I want
Mm,
everyone to be included. And I wanted to do it as fast as possible because we
yeah,
had limited time. And so it was always group activities and including everyone that
yeah,
that gave me, when I look back, I didn't realize it then, that gave me joy. It was when I was in college, being part of student activity clubs, and when I was in grad school, it was being organizing study groups. And when I was someone that had just gotten married and my wife and I bought a house, it was joining the neighborhood association
yeah.
and just organizing people and getting them to be collaborative and to support each other.
Because ultimately, we both know that doing stuff together, you get more done and you have more fun.
Yes.
It's not rocket science, is it? This,
And you shouldn't go it alone. And sometimes
no.
people have the mentality in our society of like, oh, I could do it alone and I don't need help, and I'm just going to work harder to get to where I am, when a better solution is really to work together.
Oh, absolutely. And we've been taught to be separate, haven't we? Even at school, it's like if you're helping someone with their homework, apparently that's cheating rather
Right.
than collaborating. The simple things that we've kind of, no, I've got to prove it on my own. I've got to get to the top on my own. And that's really hard. It's so much easier for a bunch of you to get to the top together. Even a lone marathon runner, you've got this idealistic picture of this person running for miles on their own, and they have a coach. They have somebody who helps them with their nutrition, somebody helps them with their mindset, somebody's cheering them along the way, and there's a whole team of people that gets that person over the finish line.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
we have to stop that mindset of going it alone. The American dream is about, you can achieve anything. How about we can achieve anything? That's
Right.
a more valuable
Right.
lesson for
And if
everybody.
you use the collective power of a community that's there to help and support you and advise you
Mm.
and keep, then everyone, there's an expression, like all boats rise, together, or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And that is so it brings you, the thing that brings us joy in our lives and is really connection with humans. You know, there's this the longest running sociological study, I guess in the US, I don't know where else. It's been going on for oh, maybe 80 years. It's
Wow.
a generational study, and it's
Wow.
about the what brings people happiness. And what the two things that bring people most happiness are relationships, you know, connection and relationships and purpose.
Mm,
And if you have a sense of purpose and you have people that are supporting you, family, friends, colleagues, and you've built these lifelong relationships, doesn't matter how rich or poor you are, it's they've measured that these are the things that bring the people most joy and happiness in their life.
and that's the wealth of life, isn't it? When you have those deep connections, that's your wealth. You might not have the pounds, shillings, and pence that go with it, but it's that kind of, you have enough, you have what you need because you have those connections. And within those connections, if you're ever short of anything, they can help you out, and you would do the same for them if they needed anything, whether that is love or connection or food or warmth or shelter or whatever it is. You would be there for them as well. And when you've got those kind of relationships, you're the wealthiest person on the earth, aren't you? Because you're never going to want for
Yeah.
anything. And it's the person that's continually wanting and being in competition with the next person, which means I'm not going to share anything because you might steal my stuff. You're coming from a place of scarcity and a place of lack. And then you're wanting something over there that you can't have because you're trying to do it all on your own. And if you allow yourself to go, do you know what? There's enough clients to go around. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I can, you know, I can work with another business coach. I can work with someone that does what I do. And together we can be stronger and we can be bigger. And that's the whole concept of where we are in our communities.
Yeah.
So you did the right thing. Again, it's so similar to my journey. You know, I was a good girl. I did all the right things. I didn't go to university because people like us didn't go to university. Well, not when I left school. Left school at 16. I did go to university eventually. My mother was quite shocked.
So my
Because,
parents never did.
no,
And so
exactly.
all they wanted is for me to,
Oh, that's lovely.
you know,
Yeah.
do that, you know, next generation does a little more than the previous. So,
Yeah. Well, my mum and dad just didn't see the value in it. Sadly, it's like people like us. And I didn't like who? What do you mean like us? So we had different viewpoints. I was of the opinion that I could do anything in the world, and they were of the opinion, no way. So I remember being about 6 or 7 saying that I was going to be a docker when I grew up. So a docker was what my dad did, you know, down at the docks, unloading all the goods from the ships, a heavy,
mm-hmm.
manual, hard job. And he was mostly on strike a lot of the time. And my mum just laughed and she said, women can't be dockers. And my response to that was, well, I'll be the first one then. I didn't
Wow.
realize it wasn't a great job to have, to be fair. But it was, my mentality was I can do anything. And my mum's mentality is like, well, what will the neighbors say? So you can imagine sort of being pulled back by that. But it is this like whole mindset of we had to be good.
Yep.
And we had to do
Mm-hmm.
the right thing, whatever the right thing is. And not
Instead of
everyone.
thinking, what's the right thing for me? What's the right thing for an individual? What do you love? And when you do that and you can figure that out, then your life is going to be more fulfilling and you're going to attract, and if you can express it, you're going to attract people that also believe in the things that you believe. And so because of that, I thought it was really important. I've done a lot of this over the years, but to really define what my values are and what I care about.
Yeah.
And it's my own kind of personal mission statement, and it's based on everything that we just talked about. So, but by putting it to words and like it's right over here on one of my shelves, so
Well,
I can refresh and review it every time. But it's really to create the most meaningful, impactful personal relationships between others,
mm,
because I know that that's what leads to both personal and professional growth, to create communities of support. I love those communities. I love working together. I love those study groups and student activity clubs and neighborhood associations, but create those communities of support
mm,
to really kind of encourage empathy to drive those relationships And it comes down to I think one thing, which is to show people that I care. And if I look at that, and if every action that I take, I hold it up to that North Star and say, if it matches this, then I should do it without regard for, like financial reward. The financial reward will come later, will come. But
Absolutely.
say, if it matches this, then I do it. And if it doesn't, don't do it. And I've
Absolutely.
always done that in my business. And so that's my personal mission statement, but it's my business it's Collaborex's mission statement.
Yeah.
And I've always followed that, and it's been so rewarding. And
So I love that. It's absolutely beautiful. And I think more people need to spend time considering understanding what their purpose and their vision and their mission is, not least because of the ikigai effect of how it will help you live a better life and a more enjoyable life. And when you've got purpose at the center of everything you do, a lot of people go, oh, I haven't got any purpose, I'm fine, it's okay. And I do think there are some people that can happily jog along without any awareness of what their purpose is. And that's fine. It's not essential. And some people, like myself, have changed purpose over the years. When my children were born, that was it. They were, if they were happy, then I'd done a good job, and that was fine on a daily basis. And I did other things in the meantime, but they were at the center of everything. And to be honest, they still are. But as times change in your life, as you go through periods of time, 10 years here, 20 years there, you pivot where your ship is sailing to, don't you, into different areas. So your purpose can change, where some people are very worried that they set a purpose when they're 18 and they're stuck with that for the rest of their life. What would you have done when you were 18? Had you kind of been a bit of a rebel? Did you have any clue that you were doing something, that you were doing it for the benefit of other people, as in the business degree and all those kind of things? It's like, well, I'm being good, and my mum and dad want me to do this, and it's going to be a good, foundation, and I should be able to then pivot. And or was there a little part of you that wants, no, I want to be in a rock band?
no, the part of me was so I went to one of your meetings yesterday. It was it yesterday or recently? You were
It
talking
was
about
yesterday.
awards that people have
Yes.
won.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that. And one of the awards that I won that I was most proud of, that I won it 2 years in a row, was I was in the US, mostly not in the whole US, but east, like northeast of the US. It's very common for people to send their kids to sleepaway camps.
Okay.
So during the summer, you send your kid and they go to this summer camp for,
Yeah.
either 4 or 6 or 8 weeks.
Wow.
And I was a camp counselor. And I won Best Counselor of the Year, 2 years running.
Excellent.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
This was like my dream job. I get to run around outside. I get to play sports. I get to interact. They gave me they gave me the 6-year-old kids who were way, way too young. They never should have been sent away. They're
Oh,
too, so they were more homesick
yeah.
than anyone. I loved it. We made their summers so fun and joyous.
Mm.
Like they didn't want to go home at the
Oh,
end.
oh, that's
And
good.
and so I thought, this is my calling. This is what I love to do. And also my mother was a nursery school teacher, and I used to sub for her at times.
Oh.
And I would come home and it would really piss her off because I would say, they pay you for this? This is fun.
Would you have loved to have been a nursery school teacher?
A nursery school teacher or some kind of teacher, or something having to do with children and activities and things like that.
Yeah.
And but then it was like, no, I have to be responsible. I have to get good grades and go to business school and law school and become a lawyer and this. And
Yeah.
I gravitated towards practical things in life. Well,
Hmm.
if I'm going to buy a house, I'm going to have a mortgage. I have to pay for that mortgage. And, they don't pay much. These other things don't pay much.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so I for years, I, kind of said, well, okay, I'm going to put my needs to the side and do things that were more practical.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And I did well in those things because I was determined to do well and be good for others. And it was only fairly recently that I've gone through, a career of owning businesses and running businesses, that I decided to take the leap and create this, what I used to think in my mind is like this silly business. I would literally call it that. Like, wait, you're creating a business based on building relationships? It seems like that's an oxymoron. That's inconsistent with what businesses are supposed to be,
Mm.
and through complete stubbornness and passion and perseverance, I stuck with it. And when I started, I used to tell myself over and over again, like like in the first year, I would go, "What were you thinking? This is the dumbest idea ever."
Yeah.
But you stick with it and express yourself and express those mission statements, and you start to attract people that believe in the things that you believe
Yeah. And also, they're ready to believe now. People that have been cynical have been taught in the way of, it's dog eat dog world. And now I think since the pandemic in particular, they're more aware that compassion and empathy and kindness go a long way in business. Where before it used to be, the first person had to be in at 7 a.m. and you're not supposed to go home until 7 p.m. and you have no family life, and life was tough. I mean, over here in England, you look over to the US, it's like they used to go to meetings at breakfast time. What's that all about? Well, now we do that here. It's like we've adopted all of your
in.
activities. It's
Bad,
like,
all of our bad habits. Yes, I know.
exactly. It's crazy, isn't it? How mad is that for the family? So there was these kind of thoughts around. I've lost my train of thought now. What was I saying? People are coming to you and are being attracted to you, and it's the time and place. Had you done what you'd done 20 years ago, I don't think there would have been much traction, because
Oh,
people would have just looked and gone, well, that's a bit weird. But all of a sudden, because we were talking about it, I was talking about it with a previous business partner at 2012. And there were a tiny handful of people goes, well, this is interesting. What's going on? How do we join? And we're like, well, we're just having a conversation. There's nothing to join. Oh, we want to have regular meetings. We want to do. So, oh, okay, then. So we kind of started this thing that we didn't really know what it was, couldn't touch it, taste it, feel it. But people were interested in something different. And when we focused around collaboration, they got very excited about it. And when we talked about leaving the ego at the door and coming in and being authentic and potentially vulnerable and courageous in how you support and help each other, it kind of blew their mind. They were like, what are you doing? That's crazy. Well, no, actually, it's quite nice, isn't it? I think, oh, how do I join again? And all of a sudden, as the years have gone on, and then the pandemic hit, everyone's going, well, yeah, obviously you want to build good relationships. And I was talking to somebody yesterday, I think, who was saying that, oh, it's not a great thing to throw the L word around in business. You can't talk love in business. I'm like, I think you can.
there,
and it's
right.
and
There,
it and
36
now we have,
questions that lead to love. I know.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Now we have two schools of thought, don't we? There's the old school that are going on the, targets and the hierarchy and all the things that you and I kind of are not interested in anymore. And we're looking at the love and connection and the empathy and the courage and the vulnerability and how can I help, rather than the other side of the coin, which is what's in it for me.
Okay. But I'm going to call timeout, and I would just want to say something. People who are listening to this, and some people that have looked at my group, and probably you have the same experience with people that are, dipping their toe in the water. They look at it and they go, oh, that's so nice. That's
Yeah.
really nice. But I'm a business person. I'm not going to pay for nice. But
Mm.
what they don't realize is we do it. It might be nice, but we do it because it really is a much, much more effective way to build your business and to create relationships. If you ask, like if you ask every company in the United States, you do a huge survey and you say, tell us who your best customers are. One question. If they're honest in their response, I guarantee that a huge percentage, like 80, 90%, will not say the customers that brought them the most revenue during the last year, but they'll say that it's the customers that they have the best relationship with, the ones that value them for the services they provide, that won't leave them if a competitor charges 1 penny less, but the ones that they have a long-term relationship, the ones where they've gone to each other's daughters' weddings, the ones that they feel most value, and they work as more or less as vendor and supplier, but more as partners to solve problems that they have. So if they think about it, it's the relationships that matter. So what we're doing in building those relationships, we're creating your best customers. We're not doing it because it's nice, just because it is nice, but people get it very, I mean, you're talking to the guy that, went to, has a business degree and then a master's in business and a lot of, so I still gravitate towards the practicality of all of this.
Yeah.
And that's why we do it. And people have to let go. They have to take a breath and say, because it's, what we do? It's a little harder than what we do, because you have to open up and be vulnerable and be yourself and have real conversations. It's much easier to say, here's my elevator pitch and here's my features and benefits, and I'm just going to repeat it over and over and over again and hope that someone needs it.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? The original networking was golf clubs, wasn't it? People would go to golf clubs, have a round of golf and talk a bit of work at the same time. So it was a good excuse. I'm going to work, darling. But actually it was the golf club, because that's where you were doing your networking. But those relationships were being built, because you can't walk for 4 hours without getting to know somebody pretty well. You're not going to be talking work the whole time. Probably 2% was the deal, and 98% was having fun on the golf course. And then it kind of got commoditized, didn't it, in these breakfast meetings and, come networking. So you're going networking. So people went to sell, and it's like, no, you're not going to sell anything there. People aren't ready to buy. They want to get to know you. So you had to kind of revamp that understanding. Oh, I've got to build relationships. All right, okay. So how do I do that then? And you had to kind of take them by the hand and go, this is how you do it. And this is my experience, because I was a networking tart. I've been all over the world teaching people how to network. And they didn't realize. So what I thought was obvious, they're like, oh, that's a revelation, Jill. And it's like, well, it's called getting to know someone and building a relationship and having a deep connection. And they're like, oh, never thought about that. I thought I just had to give my business card and give my benefits. And now hang on, let's start beginning. And you and I go, obvious. That's obvious, isn't it? Isn't it an obvious thing? But actually, to most people, they haven't got a clue where to start. And the reason being, historically, it's all been about you're on your own. You're at school, you're on your own. What are your grades? Let's beat the person next to you. You've got to strive, you've got to be successful. And now we're saying, no, build relationships. See if you and you, although you do very similar things, you do them slightly differently, but you could put an amazing product together. How would that work? What would that look like? And before you know it, so I can tell you a silly story. 2 people sat in our meeting a little while ago, a few years ago, and one was a stationer and one was a surveyor. And month after month, they would sit next to each other. And after a while, I was at the front of the room chatting, and I pointed to them as an example. I said, well, you guys are working together, aren't you? And they're like, no. I said, why not? What do you mean? We've got nothing in common. We have different clients. I said, hang on, this stationer supplies schools. You, surveyor, work with schools. Have you not had that conversation yet? It hadn't entered their minds. They just gone, oh, that's your label. That's my label. We don't, you've got an office. I might be able to supply you with some paper, but that's it. I got in the middle of it, the magic 3 for any collaboration, in my opinion, help them with some emails to send out. And within the space of 6 to 8 weeks, the surveyor had to say to the stationer, could you stop sending the emails? I've got too much work. I can't cope. But thank you very much. But I'll come back to you in about 6 months' time. Let me finish what I've got. And it was like a tap, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, because they had the magic, the way it went, that 3-way. This is how you write the email. This is how you send it out. These are the levels that you do. It was beautiful, but they hadn't seen it because they were used to benefits and all of that kind of thing without actually understanding what each other did properly and actually hanging out together. So it's funny how people go through that. They don't go through the exploratory stage of what's possible. And that's part of what I love, is like, oh, what could we do here? What could happen? And when you and I got together and you were telling me about Collaborex and I was telling you about Collaboration Global, we're like, we've just done the same thing here. So now this is a good point. Tell us about Collaborex. What does it mean? Where did the name come from? Who is the sort of person that becomes your member? And you've already told us the kind of why you've done it, which is beautiful. But just give us a little bit more detail and background behind it.
So when you make a name for your company, you do, the typical thing is you take a lot of sticky notes and you put them on the wall and you write up, words that are values and things that you want to do, or action words. And for some reason, I gravitate towards companies that end in an X sound, American Express, Amex, and FedEx, and other ones like that. I don't know why.
Okay.
And so I was looking for something like that. And it was more like collaboration and exchange. And so that putting those two together, Collaborex. And so practically what we are is, right now we have 15 groups. Most of them are in the East Coast of the US time zone. We have one that's West Coast US time zone. And then we just opened one that is UK time zone. We have a facilitator that's in Edinburgh, Scotland. And so she's attracting more people from Europe. The people in our East Coast US time zone can visit the one in so-called Scotland, even though they're all virtual, because they want access to people in the European market. People in Europe can visit our groups. So those two time zones are very compatible. What we have is, we do a lot of the same things that Collaboration Global does, just in a different format. So we have right now what we call 11 groups that we call home groups or primary groups. And those groups are small groups of people. The most we'll allow in any of those groups is 16 people. Most of them have about 12 people. So small groups of people where everyone builds really fewer, deeper relationships. So they'll be in a group, and they'll be in a group, say, of 12, and they'll have 11 other people that will be their sales funnel, that will be their accountability partner, that will be their strategic partner, that will be their advisor, that will be their focus group. So we get to know each other so well personally first, and then professionally, that people will just want to help each other. It's like the two people that you were talking about. If they had sat down and had meals together and said, oh, you have children, I have children, let me tell you my challenges. Oh, you love dogs, I love dogs, and find out the things that they have in common. That what happens is, when people get to know each other so well, it literally flips their brains and they want to help each other. Like, this person we align so well. I feel so good talking to this person. Wouldn't it be great if we could work together? We're two smart people. Let's figure it out. Let's figure out what we can do. So in our groups, it's this community of 15 groups that, so we have 11 home groups, and we have 4 groups that we call affinity groups, which are people with commonalities, common target markets, or common interests. So we have a women's group. We have people that sell to C-level decision makers. And then we have a group called Quantum Manifestors, which is based on quantum physics and the science, the same science behind how we form habits in our brain. you do things, you do them over, it creates neural pathways. And we have an amazing facilitator that runs that group. So we have all those things. We do a lot of community things. So we have monthly open networking, monthly workshops. We do, depending on where people live, we have in-person socials, but that are fun socials, not passing out business cards, but I'm meeting someone this afternoon for ice cream. So my favorite thing.
Oh, lovely.
So that's kind of our community of support. We all help each other. The kind of people, once I asked our members to describe their fellow members, and I keep asking them over and over, and this is what they came up with in this order, in this particular order. They said, our members are people that are nice first, smart second, collaborative third, and there are people who feel good by making others feel good. And I thought they nailed it. That's who our members really are. They come with an attitude of learning and helping others.
And I do think this is the world that we are growing into. I think you and I have got little islands of people who believe that. And I think bit by bit over the coming years, more and more will join. And we're going to be able to demonstrate to people outside of our communities that, hey, this is a good space to hang out. This is a place where you can flourish. This is a place where you can grow. This is a place where you won't be judged. And then hopefully at some point in the not too distant future, we will be having a bigger say in the wider community, where people will realize that we've created a culture of business that can be done in a different way. And the business that can be done with the L word, and
Yes.
we talk about that a lot in both groups, don't we? And it isn't a dirty word. It is something that should be the foundation of everything, because when you've got that love as a foundation, you can forgive someone, you can work through any upsets that have happened, you can sort out any problem in a collaboration, because you have that kind of confidence. You don't have to feel threatened, you don't have to feel defensive, you don't have to feel judged. You can be your best self. And if you're having a bad day, and some days we do because we're human beings, there are people that will help you.
So would you mind if I want to read something that someone posted, one of our members posted on Instagram just like 2 days ago, spontaneously. There was I was like, she just sent me the post. And what she said was, and I'm reading it now, joining the Collaborative community was like finding my tribe, a place where inspiration flowed freely and support was abundant. What started as a quest for connection quickly blossomed into one of the most fulfilling collaborations I've experienced. From sharing ideas to championing each other's projects, Collaborex became more than just a network. It became a family. And now I'm excited. And she's also helping me rebrand and do our website. And she says, I'm excited and humbled to lead the charge in rebranding Collaborex, a journey fueled by the trust and friendship we've cultivated together. Wow. And it just made me tear up. Yeah. It was like,
get that one framed. That's beautiful. I'll put that on my wall. That's lovely.
I know. I was just blown away. And it was like, yes, she gets it. And people who come to our groups, they get it. And people come to your groups. I've been to a bunch of meetings. I'm so thrilled to be a member there. And I go, this is your group. Yeah. This is my other tribe.
Yeah. And hopefully we will mix the two together as well. It will be lovely to kind of share alike. And there are people that both of us are talking to, like we've got partnerships with B1G1, with the Love Foundation down in Florida, people that really understand where we're going. And I think bit by bit, we're pulling more and more people in. I have to tell you, check out Simon Anholt as a TED Talk. for your
Mhm.
groups. I would love to be in on that conversation, because he's spoken a couple of times at our community, and he's looking at ways of changing the world, and it's very inspiring. But yeah, we've got lots of swapping things that we can do, and sharing and supporting each other. So I cannot wait to get on a plane and come over and see you in person, which we'll do that one day.
Okay.
But before we get to that stage, though, I just tell us who you've got at home. Tell us a little bit about Jonathan, the non-Collaborex person. What do you do for funsies? What have you got, any hobbies?
So
Don't
I'm
have time.
been married for 39 years. I have 2 grown kids. I have a son who's 37, who has 3 grandchildren, who
Wow.
live only about 30 minutes from us,
Oh,
including a 5-year-old boy, a 3-year-old boy, and now a 2-month-old girl
oh,
named Nellie.
I
And
love it.
so we love Nellie. And so she's going to definitely be the boss if the boys don't like duct tape her to the crib or something. So they're a little active. But it's just brings so much joy to see them and play with them and have fun with them.
Mm.
My daughter has been married for 2 years. Guess she's, I don't know. So she and her husband are doctors.
Oh, wow.
And so she's a psychiatrist, and I said to her, and one of my big hobbies is I'm a very big tennis player. I played tennis my entire life. I said to her, I said, Emily, why didn't you pick a profession, a specialty that had to do with my ailments? Like, why weren't you an orthopedist?
Yeah.
And she says, I did that. It's all your injuries, they're all in your head. So
Excellent. I love
and
her.
so they live relatively close also, and so I'm spending my time, enjoying my time with our friends, with my wife, going for walks, playing tennis, seeing my kids, and it's really, I have so much to be grateful for.
Yeah, that's lovely. So what are your big ambitions going forward with Collaborex? What would you like to see happen?
Just to get the word out to more people, but I don't have this I've gotten away from really measure. I used to in previous, like, measure these specific tangible KPIs, key performance indicators, and
Mm,
how many guests and how many calls and how many members and things like that. And I've gotten away from that. And there's a great TED talk by a guy, Chip Connolly, and he talks about intangible KPIs
yeah,
and measuring what's really important and thinking about what's important.
yeah.
And so I want to measure the quality of the relationships that we have created. And
Mm,
the more I do that, everything else will follow.
yeah.
And not to worry too much about the metrics of you know how many members I have and how many groups and how many members per group and things like that,
Mm,
but to work on the core values of our business and continue to get the word out, so people who, I'm a firm believer that people want to join things, if of if they believe what we believe, then they'll want to be part of our community
yeah,
or your community. So
yeah. We always say it's a heart conversation, not a head conversation. If you're sitting there going, so what do I get out of this? And how can I make money out of this? And what can I get from this? It's not going to move along, not the right person.
right.
But if your heart is going, oh, I love the energy in the room, I think the people are lovely, it just feels so nice, then you'll
Yes.
find the time and you'll make it happen. And a lot of people are obviously very busy in these environments, and you've got a lot of meetings going on, we have meetings going on, and some people go, oh, it's just too much, I can't commit. But sometimes just being in the fold, so you might not make every meeting, but you are still connected to the people in there, and you've got people you can go to when life gets a little bit sticky, or if you've had a problem, or things are, I mean, I don't know if you were there when Gina was telling us last night about a meeting she had in her local village, where they were talking about disrupting, hundreds of years old buildings, listed buildings in a conservation area, for the sake of profit, that doesn't even stay in the country and it ends up going to Germany. It was
Hmm.
crazy. So that's the sort of thing where she's like, oh, I don't know what to do. And she's doing her very best. And it's like, well, what can we do to help? we're here,
Yes.
let us write letters and let's, yell at people and get onto journalists and things and see if we can make a difference in some small way. And the bigger the communities become, the more impact that we can have.
Yeah.
And it's the same in the whole of the SME world. If we band together in a positive way to support each other, we are the backbone of the economy in the UK, at least, and I'm sure in most
Yes.
of the Western world.
Yeah.
We employ the most people, we create the most income, but we have the least power. So by coming together, we can, have a self-organizing group that can be the next Me Too movement or Black Lives Matter and actually make a positive, powerful impact for people that don't have a voice of their own.
Yes.
So,
That's why collaboration is so important.
indeed.
Yes.
And one day people will kind of cotton on that we're not talking about collaboration that's transactional. We're talking about collaboration that comes from a place of love, connection, and a mindset of abundance, a heart set of abundance.
It really, you know what, it really becomes transformational, not transactional.
That's it, exactly. Well
Yeah.
said. And on that note, I think we should stop talking, Jonathan. We'll have a part 2 another time, but that was thank you so much. And do you know what? Just we've been saying so much that we like each other, and you're me and I'm you. My daughter has always had the nickname Nelly as well.
Oh, that's so interesting.
She's Danielle. When she was 2, she couldn't say Danielle, but she used to say Danny Nell. So we just called her Nelly. It's only a family thing, so I've just let it out to the rest of the world. Sorry, Danny. But there's so many similarities. It's just lovely to be connected so far apart. God bless technology that we can
I
have these
feel so connected.
conversations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. And if people wanted to contact you and if they wanted to come to a Collaborex session, how would they do that?
So they can either connect with me by emailing me, and my email is Jonathan, Jonathan, at Collaborex, which is COLLABEREX.com. Or they can go on our website and there's, join our free trial. What we do is anyone that wants to come to our meetings, we give everyone a 30-day free membership so they can explore all the groups and everything, and it doesn't cost them anything. We don't ask for any credit card information or anything. They just can go and explore and see if it feels right to them. And that way we want them to have enough information so they can make the personal choice of whether this is worth their time and it feels like it aligns with the goals that they're trying to achieve.
And then at the end of that, it's an easy choice, isn't it? If they've come across people that they feel aligned with and it feels comfortable and it feels safe, nothing scary. So yeah, great choice. And of course, if anybody wants to meet Jonathan, he's going to be at our Collaboration Global sessions once a month.
I will.
The guest session. That's the last Tuesday of the month, 3 till 5 British summertime. Wherever you are in the world, it'll be lovely to have you. And you can find details of that under this podcast, with this podcast, but just go to collaborationglobal.org and you can book yourself a little space in there, which is also free. So thank you again, Jonathan. It's been an absolute delight. I hope you enjoy your ice cream this afternoon.
I will. Yes.
And I will see you again very soon.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jill. Thanks for having me.
Okay, take care.
This is great. Okay.